Why is the birth rate going down? Why aren't any of these young people having sex? Maybe it's because we're getting fucked every day!
It's ridiculous, man!
Holy Christ. Holy Christ.
Y'all don't be embarrassed by this country?
Oh. Look, Gen Z is waking up, okay? We're fed up. And I'm gonna speak for the entirety of Gen Z when I say this. We don't want to be the ultimate goy cattle, okay? We don't want to snarf down big arch burgers that the CEOs can barely even nibble on, that we finance through Klarna to have DoorDash to us, okay?
All right, the moment of truth.
We don't want to finance $1,000 phones just to get AI ads and brain rot content, you know, forced in our face every 30 seconds. We don't want to live in $7,000 a month luxury apartments that are the size of a shoebox that we can barely afford with our minimum wage jobs. And we really don't like our inability to criticize Israel. No, but seriously, we're tired. We don't want things to be this way. And I'm not the only one who feels this way, so I have a collective of videos of people who share the same opinion, and let's go through them so you can see that I'm not the only one who's preaching about this, and you know, we can gain a different opinion, a different perspective, hopefully to people who may disagree with this. Really quick though, before we do into that, thank you guys so much for all the love and support on my Goy Slot video. I'm almost at 100 subs. Can we make it happen? Maybe we can, maybe we can't, I don't know, but thank you guys for that. But let's get straight into this, because this is very important.
Why is the birth rate going down? Why aren't any of these young people having sex? Maybe it's because we're getting fucked every day! I don't know what you're talking about. My sex life is pretty healthy. I'm getting fucked by the government every day, my job, the job economy, the economy in general, inflation, the landlords, the insurance companies, the banks, the billionaires. They're all just having their way with me every single day, fucking gangbanging me crazy style. And then you want to know why I'm not fucking? I'm all fucked out. How about that? I don't have the passion, drive, or wherewithal to put a baby in you, not even practice.
And there were no lies there, honestly. I mean, come on, our insurance premiums are up, and yet their profits are doubled.
Wait, so is it true that a lot of people in the US can't afford to go to the doctor? Yeah, medical care is expensive here, especially if you don't have insurance. Well, how do people get insurance? I mean, a lot of people get insurance from their job. Oh, okay, so as long as you have a job, you get insurance. Oh, no, so it has to be a full-time job, and also it has to be the right employer, and then even then, like, different jobs offer different benefits, so it kind of just depends. Oh god, okay. But if you have a really good job, and you have really good benefits, then it's all free, right? What? No, it's not free, you still have to pay. Okay. And if you don't make a lot of money and your job isn't that great, you might have horrible benefits or no benefits, which means going to the doctor is extra expensive. Oh yeah, no, it bankrupts people, actually. What about emergencies? Like, how do people live like that? Have you heard of GoFundMe?
You know, our houses, they're made out of gum and Elmer's glue, yet we're paying 50-year mortgages, 30-year mortgages on these places, and they're not even any good.
We make contact here, not here.
Water pressure should be between 40 and 80 instead of 100.
I just want to open it to test it, but the whole thing comes up out the floor.
It says GFCI, but it ain't tripping.
We got a broken window sill already on the new construction. No way to change the speed to the ceiling fan because the chains aren't even installed.
This is loose. Here's some hinges. This is loose.
I hate these stoppers with a passion. It's too much work. Whenever they're sealing the windows, I never understand why they install the caulking over loose pieces of mortar. See? Now it's open. This is damaged.
Cracks and damages at the sidewalk. Standing water at the sidewalk area. Oh shoot, I almost fell. This tree bubbler looks great. This one needs to be adjusted. I wouldn't even survive off this.
Bugs in the house, but obviously they're coming in because we got gaps at the entryways.
Downspout missing components.
You know, this is the most expensive house this has ever been. And I feel like that's why, you know, the older generations are so critical of us. Is because the system that they had that existed for them, it doesn't exist in the same way that it did for them. You know, it's worse for us. It doesn't serve us how it served them. You know?
So you're telling me niggas in the 70s used to get off of their 40-hour work week as a fucking milkman to their 2-story house that they own, mind you, with a Mustang in the driveway that they could use to drive to not 1, not 2, but 3 of their secret families that they take care of all simultaneously. Then go to the club that Friday, not just go to the club, but go to the club where they're playing the new single that Michael Jackson just dropped. And there's a guy in the back selling $20 grams of pure Colombian. This is why I don't argue with boomers. Because imagine going from that and now somebody in 2025 is telling you I can barely afford my 1-bedroom apartment working 3 jobs. I would think that nigga trolling.
They were taught to go to school, but we can't afford the college debt. And the job that we get after isn't even, you know, worth it enough to acquire that debt. The debt would be like $80K, yet the job will only promise you $60,000, maybe even $40,000.
So the unemployment rate for computer engineering graduates has more than tripled over the last year. A screenshot from the New York Fed report a year ago, computer engineering, 2.3% unemployment. Same source, a year later, computer engineering, 7.5% unemployment. And this is actually true. Art history, 3% unemployment. Do not get an art history degrees, my God.
You know, and it's all oversaturated with AI, you know, so you have to do that just to get a good job. Mind you, the job that's only paying good is going to be like Palantir, you know, mass surveillance, and either you don't want to sell out to their cause, or they're only hiring their distant cousins, you know, just to finance, you know, your car and your house and your phone. And then, you know, it just makes us feel like our whole life is just going to be acquiring debt just to have the ability to finance more things, just to die, and that's it. And then you could say, okay, yeah, what about, you know, having kids? The most expensive area of all of this is kids. It's surprisingly more than the house and more than the car when you think about it, because it requires so much emotional and time and attention to them, more than the money. And when we have to focus on juggling our job and our debt just to be able to exist in said house or said apartment, there leaves no time for the children. So that's why we're not, you know, doing any of these things with anybody, because it just doesn't exist. The system doesn't serve us anymore, and that's why we're so critical. Moreover, you know, I'd argue that the government is maybe arguing children, but that's besides the point. You know, it's just the system's terrible, you know, and we want some change, and yet now that we're here to change it, the older people, they're so critical because, you know, that's what they've been taught, and we have to tell them that it's not the same thing what you grown up on. And that leads me to dive into the next topic of what this whole rant is gonna be about. It's the division.
The world as we know it is divided into 2 groups right now. And it's not what you think. It's not left versus right or red versus blue. It's those who are awake and those who are asleep. Because at this point, we might as well be living on 2 different planets.
Now, I believe this one to be the most critical because back then it was the people watching the government, making sure that everything is straight and correct. But now it is turned to the people watching the people while the government watches us battle out with each other on petty little squabbles. And it's crazy when you think about it, because we're so occupied by rich people that when you actually pay attention to it, it's not left versus right because we just both want the government to work for us. It's not black versus white or Hispanic versus Asian, because at the end of the day, we all just want a world that we can happily live in. The only people who mess with that are the rich people and the politicians who love the rich people. So when you combine that, where I hate my neighbor and my neighbor hates me and we're doing petty squabbles, you could get away with something like this, or like this, or like this if you got some money. And mind you, the whole time that they're doing all this, craziness, all this wickedness, we're sitting here and we're trying to own the libs or punch Republican fascist Nazis. And they get away with it every time. Like, every single time. That's all it has been. And I think that when it leads to, like, the main conclusion of the video, if I add my own personal piece of proof to, you know, the older generations to show exactly what I mean with evidence, is that when you see stuff like this and you wake up to it, everything starts to feel crazy. It doesn't feel real because there's like no way this is blatantly happening and we are willingly turning a blind eye.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
We are the first species on the face of this earth to be aware of evolution, to be aware that we are affecting our own evolution by everything that we do. The babies we eat, the food we eat, the wars we fight.
They bought me my piece of pizza. I took a bite. I couldn't fucking believe it. Best pizza I've ever had in my life. Best fucking pizza I've ever had. Had some type of lettuce on it. I've never tasted this shit. Tell my white baby's got some type of lettuce on it.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but when's the last time you ever talked about an experience of eating pizza and accidentally mentioned white babies when you're talking about eating pizza? Or when you're talking about human evolution and you say the babies we eat? That's a little weird. On top of that, you know, in the Epstein files, there's a literal email transaction of correlating babies and cream cheese, as if babies are something that we just consume. Now that's a little weird, and I'm pretty sure everyone can admit how weird this whole sphere is. But my thing is, when you try to dress it with people of the past generations on just how weird it is, they're just gonna call you crazy, or they're gonna call you crazy or lazy, and they're gonna say you need to look into meds or something like that. Like, are we serious?
I genuinely can't make a joke. I can't. You wanna know why? I actually can't, actually. I just saw anime of World War III before GTA 6. That was a funny one. That was funny. And you know what else? I just saw a woman feed her dog caviar. I'm eating leftovers. Yeah, hey, I can't afford to pay my bills, and you guys are like, let them eat cake! Let them eat cake! You know, history really does repeat itself. And if you would say it doesn't, hey, watch this, buddy, World War III's gonna blast you, and then you're gonna sit there and be like, how did this happen? Oh my god. Like, it's so mind-numbing. Looking at a phone screen all day, and eating Taco Bell, and going to the mall, when you ain't got no money in your bank account either.
And you know what? For one of my last points, I want to piggyback off of this person. This is Mars. Shout out to her. She makes very good esoteric music. You should cop a listen over here. But that's besides the point. Modern society has, well, pretty much all of society. Why is its biggest thing to offer your ability to just buy things? Like that's just what you do. You can just buy experiences. It's like, oh, well, what's the point of existing in a society, and why do I want to get rich and have all this money? So you can buy things, Jimmy. So you can buy a bag that you didn't want a year ago, or you could buy a skydiving event that you really isn't gonna really change you. Like, the biggest thing they have to offer, the society has to offer, is just your ability to buy experiences and items, and that's it. And that really leads me until my final last thought and my own evidence, because I've been using a lot of TikToks, but let me show you what I found. So one way, or one great way to find out, you know, how the economy was compared to then, is trying to find the house and car to income ratio. So let's go exactly 100 years ago, 1926. All right, let's do some math here. The median household income was approximately $5,425 per what? This was based on the tax return data from 1925 to 1926. The average house cost was $11,600 for a new home, and the average car cost, it ranged from about $1,000 to all the way up to $3,000, but it could go as low as $300. So call the mid about $1,000. All right, let's get 2026's projected data. The median household income is gonna be projected to be around $89,000 to $90,000. Okay, the average house cost is gonna range at around $410 through $420. All right, and the average car cost is gonna be about $48,000 to $49,000. So, in order to figure out the ratio, we can calculate this as the cost of asset divided by the annual household income. So if we do the math, 11,600 divided by 5,425 gives us 2.14, and for the car of the 1926, that's 1,000 divided by 5,425. That gives you 0.18. Now let's do 2026. The house gives you 4.55, and the car gives you 0.54. So when we add all the numbers together, the house to income ratio has more than doubled from 1926 to 2026. But guess what? The car cost tripled. And guess what? The house went significantly over the head of the income. So while the income still rose, everything else pretty much tripled. That's ridiculous! I'm like going schizo here. DJ, can we cut the music for 1 second?
No!
Basically what I'm getting at is that none of this is normal. Nothing that's going on is normal. This is all weird. And Gen Z and some millennials, we're fed up, okay? We don't want to exist and or contribute to said system. And the way they've had it set up, it's to where you can do very much little to none to change it. But that statement is as true as you are alone. There's power in numbers, you know. We really need to cut the division and unionize together, you know. Again, I'm making a Discord. You know, us as a generation, we really need to come together and embrace one another, you know, acknowledge the differences and realize that, you know, it's not the left versus the right, the black versus the white, or the male versus the female. It's literally the wealthy versus everyone that isn't that. It's all it is. It's the elite, it's the 1% versus us. And it's not about, you know, trying to reach up to their level as they would want you to do. It's more about pulling them down from their high horse of poisoning us with the food and, you know, the distractions of the media and, you know, just overall just destroying our health and our being just for their profit. And thank you for, you know, if you've gotten this far in the video, thank you guys so much. You know, it means a lot to me as, you know, someone who is deeply passionate about all of this. Again, please do subscribe, please like to all the TikTok creators who I included in this. You know, thank you guys for reaching out, or sorry, not reaching out. Thank you guys for, you know, just speaking up. Just you know, letting it be heard. Let your voices be heard, and that applies to everyone, you know. And I know I'm not the only one who's thinking this way, and I only beg that, you know, that said viewer, you upload too. Like, please start uploading content. Make your own server. Like, we need to really come together, okay? It's not about being angry enough. It's about being ungovernable. And when you have enough people who know how to exist without said system, then you don't have to play their game anymore. So, yeah, in conclusion, we are the change, okay? And people can hide from it, they can run from it, they can make as many jokes in game as they want about us, but we are the people who are going to change and fix all of this. And all I have to say is, you know, read all your history books, stay in the gym, run from the slop, and talk to, you know, your fellow man, your fellow woman, and just, you know, ask each other, is this weird? Is any of this weird? But I guess we can cue the music again. Just thank you. What I will say is, though, really quickly, I can explain why all this inflation suddenly happened. It was because Nixon, when he took the dollar off the gold standard. But that's for next video. Just like and subscribe, guys. Thank you.